Welcome back to the Good Leader Podcast. I'm your host, John Martinez, and I'm just going to continue on my topics of some unspoken rules for men. My previous video, that's what I was talking about, so I'm going to talk about that. I believe it is a total of 20 unspoken rules. So I'm just kind of doing like two or three at a time, depending on time constraints. I plan on doing a lot more today, but life happens. um, so right now I'm on rule number 8, and it says if you are not invited, don't ask to go. Respecting boundaries and invitations is key to maintaining a good social etiquette. It avoids awkward situation and respects the host's intentions. Yes, if you are not invited, do not go and say, why was I not invited or anything like that. Trust me, I've been not invited to stuff that I was well aware of that other people around me were, and I did not take it personal. I mean, obviously, it's always like usually there's a reason behind it, whether I'm not really friends or friendly with the person, or it could be anything else. I know one of the most like kind of awkward type of situations one time in a work situation was there was a guy that was retiring. I mean, I known him for a lot of years. I wouldn't say we are close. We're not enemies. We're not friends. We're just like acquaintances. And then they had planned on doing some kind of like a retirement to take him to lunch or something like that. And it wasn't just myself; it was like a group of us, probably a little bit like younger in age than the group that was going. None of us were like invited, and I don't know how we actually found out, but the people above us eventually, I guess, got wind of that. We knew that they were just going out kind of without us and not inviting us. So at the last minute, they were like scrambling, like, "Hey, do you guys want to go?" And it was just awkward, bro. But like I went for the person, and to show respect, but because it was so last minute and I know their intentions weren't to invite any of us that ended up going, it just was not it was just an awkward situation, and would just kind of like I really didn't see the point of it. And I think if you're gonna do things like that, you're better off, I don't know, doing it outside of work or planning outside of work. It was weird. It was just awkward. So I agree. I never try to invite myself to something I'm not welcome to, and there's probably a reason for it. And vice versa. If I'm not inviting someone, because I probably don't want them around. Number 9 is always aim for the head. This metaphoric rule can apply to many scenarios, implying that you should strive for excellence and precision in your efforts. That's true. I mean, I think basically that's saying, you need to go for the intended target and goal you're trying to hit, and not just be okay with, basically, hey, whatever happens to me or whatever's given to me, you know, that works. It doesn't work. You want to start a business, then your ultimate goal should be to start a business. If you want to become a millionaire, then hey, make sure you get a millionaire, not a 500,000 millionaire, a thousandaire. Become a millionaire. But one of the things we used to do, like when I was an RSO, which is a range safety officer, right? We used to always say you want to say aim for the center mask of the exposed kind of target. Right? So I guess the way to think of it is, try to hit the head of or the center mass, whatever is exposed to you. So if you can only see the chest, like say a metaphor for life, right? You can only see the chest, right? You want to aim for that center mass. When you see their head, then you want to aim for the center mass of their head, or their, wherever you're trying to kind of, aim, get to, hit something. I think that's kind of, I think, when it's saying always aim for, you know, the head, but I also think it's also means if you don't see the head, still aim for, center mass of your target, hit something, and then from there you can kind of, build upon that. That's my interpretation of it. Always to aim for the head is to ultimately work towards getting that your ultimate goal, not just hey, here, work towards getting to where you're trying to go. And number 10 is don't beg for a relationship. Self-respect and dignity are important. Desperation can lead to unhealthy dynamics and undervalues your worth. So it's true whether it's a friendship, whether it's a relationship, like romantic relationship, don't beg for anybody's attention. If they don't value you or they don't want you around, then there's no reason that you should be then, you know, begging for this person's attention or simping for their attention or hoping if you buy them enough things, they're going to give you attention, and doing things like that. I think, young men and young women, I think sometimes find themselves in that place where it's like, hey, maybe you like someone more than they like you. That's just the way life is sometimes. Hey, you gotta, sometimes you just gotta work through it, bro. Like, it doesn't always go the way you want. From what I've seen, is Lucy, if you can to pursue that person and not understand that you're not going to be with them in that capacity, you're ultimately setting yourself up to be like, disappointed. Even you can become, I've seen guys and girls become resentful because they feel like they're being led on for whatever reason. Because even if that person tells them by not only their words but with their actions that they don't want anything to really put them in that way, they are not really getting the hint, or they hope they're going to change, and then they ultimately end up back in the same place. And I'm a rule that I have about people in for relationships with my friends, or um with anybody in general that I'm around. I will not give you relationship advice unless you ask me, because I feel like you have to be ready to accept relationship advice, because I think everyone's had those friends or those people that are in bad relationships that everyone knows it, everyone's aware of it, but that's just the way they roll, that's the way they operate. And there's no point in wasting your breath and telling them until they say, hey, what are your feelings on, my relationship. And because people get offended, and a lot of times, I learned this at a young age, especially, I don't know about, not with the side, but on the girl side, having sisters or anything like that, they're going to date who they want to date, they're going to marry who they want to marry. And if you start interjecting your opinion all the time, they're just not going to tell you shit. So a lot of times I kind of look at it like, that's your life, you have to deal with the good and bad and the consequences. Obviously not anything crazy, I'm not talking about, if it's anything like, I'm not gonna let someone, beat up my sisters or my daughters or anything like that, but I just mean the regular normal arguments of a relationship, not getting along, things like that. So, just be aware that it's that there's not anything really good that comes from begging from a relationship. As far as a friend stands, man, like, I ain't trying to beg anyone to be my friend. Like, I think at a certain age for us, as men, I can only speak for myself. You only really want people around you that are on the same shit. Like, basically, are they on the same goals as you? And I think as men, I've never, me personally, this is just me speaking for myself, never been the person that's like, oh, I just need people around me to be around me to make me to feel, accepted or whatever. um I've operated in those group environments, uh playing a little, just growing up around all my cousins who are the same age, being in the military, working in corrections, working in law enforcement. I've been around all the guys. They're like me for the most part. Outside of that, I always wanted to I kind of just always rolled on my own or with a couple, maybe one or two. I never really felt the need to be in big groups outside of that. Lucy, being operating in big groups, depending on what the situation is, tends to bring more problems than anything else. And I don't mean just like, it could be anything dumb, just arguments, or it could just be you're not seeing things that I kind of like to, do things somewhat on my own outside of the environment. So I'd go to the gym on my own. If I'm hanging out with a girl or my girlfriend or my dog, I'm with them. I'm not with them and my boys and things like that. That's just the way I was. Why, I don't know. Maybe just from being around um groups so much that I just, when I was by myself, wanted to do my own thing part of the time. So maybe that's why I always operated like that. But obviously you need to be around um groups of guys that accept you, that give you, good feedback, that are on the same mission as you, have the same purpose as you. So as far as begging to be around them, you shouldn't. If your friends are kind of doing stupid shit, and don't be around them. I know one of the things I saw was funny the other day, and this wasn't even guys, this was girls. There was like two girls that I saw, and it looked like they did something to the other girl. I don't know if they were joking with her, playing with her, something, but she seemed like she was their friend, but they did something to her that upset her, and they look like they're physically going to fight, like fight at the gym, right? And I don't know, that seems to be like a thing nowadays that people do on social media, right? Like purposely agitate each other and do things to each other to get a reaction. I think my brother spoke on this in a previous like little podcast we did. I don't get that shit. Like I'm not trying to do anything to my friends or families to get some kind of weird reaction from them, especially not for social media or for likes, so you don't need friends like that. That's in my opinion, right? Like don't play fucking games, right? Guys, we don't really do stuff like that because that shit goes south real quick. I'm pretty sure people have seen guys where your friends, one friend oversteps or does something or says something maybe he thinks is funny, and now the guy feels like he's being challenged, and now you got to go, now you got to now you got to throw hands, or now you're not friends or whatever. Now there's an argument because of something stupid and minor, because people don't respect boundaries or don't know the other person's boundaries. The last one I'm going to do is dress well no matter what the occasion. Good grooming and dressing appropriate shows respect for yourself and others. It also boosts confidence and makes a positive impression. Um, that's super true. I think if you're how it's all how you're wanting to present yourself, right? Me outside of work, I'm a t-shirt, jeans, short hat type of person. I'm pretty chill, but my shit is I'm always I won't wear ripped clothing. I don't like wearing, I'm not gonna wear dirty shit. That's just how I carry myself. When I, being in uniform, always had my shit for the most part pressed. You know, when I was wearing boots, I'll shine them. Always try to keep a fresh haircut. Keep my beard or clean shaven, depending on what I'm doing, and leave that kind of impression, because that's one of the first things that people see about is how do you treat yourself. And which is weird nowadays because everyone kind of dresses. I don't know, like it's like it's not even talk. I don't know. The fashion sense always changes. I've seen people wearing looking like their pajamas, and I guess that's a thing now. Like people will like work out and looks like their pajama pants, and then you see some people just looking like sloppy, like they don't care. Like there's a dude at the gym that, and I respect him for always being at the gym working out, like always coming and trying to be consistent, but his shirt is so short that it's like up to his chest and then his belly hangs out. I don't know if it's like I'm kind of like confused, or maybe it's just like there's not a shirt big enough for my weird, right? So it always looks weird. Like there's this dude walking around with just his stomach hanging out. And it's like, okay, well, maybe he doesn't have any shirts that fit him. At least he's coming to the gym. I mean, that's the positive part of it. It just looks weird sometimes, but you're just like, oh, whatever, bro, whatever floats, floats your boat. But yeah, it's an impression. I think they're talking about that for like job interviews, always, wear, a collared shirt, a tie, things like that. That goes back to some of the rules before getting up, shaking hands. Um, I can tell you from a person who's done interviews, a lot of people don't, I would say, interview well, because they kind of take it too nonchalantly. I would prefer someone be over prepared than under prepared. And the times that I've done interviews, I've seen people where it's like they didn't really seem like they paid attention at all to even what they were applying for. Like not and like you don't obviously want someone to bullshit you, but you want someone to be at least like look into what they're applying for. My advice would be, if you're going to apply for any type of organization, if they have a website or anything like that, you should be, looking at that website so you kind of know how to present yourself, and see what they're actually about. But first impression makes a big difference, because if you roll up to an interview, or now sometimes a lot of them, like Zoom, and you're at home and you're not even throwing on a collared shirt or a tie, and you look like shit. You haven't got a haircut. You haven't shaved in a couple of days, and you're that doesn't send a good message, because you're kind of basically saying I don't care about myself, right? Like why would the person that's interviewing you think like, hey, well, you're gonna care enough for me to when I hire you, you're somehow gonna change this up. And I also think that goes back to when you're meeting people again, making a good impression. for all the young men or people out there dating. This is just me, but when I used to always be going on dates or whatever, I did a couple things. I made sure my car was clean, my house was clean. I had losing the outfit I was going to wear ready. I got the a fresh haircut the day of or the night before. I was losing on my shit. Like, I didn't really care. I don't care if we're going to get coffee or whatever. I'm just taking the time to be like, that's just how I like to conduct myself, and that was the impression that I like to give off. Um, and I feel like that always worked for me. I hate this goes for girls too, right? I've been like where girls' cars weren't clean, or that was one of the first things I looked at, how they dressed. Was their car clean? Was their clothes like this? Basically, I'm not looking like you got to wear the fanciest thing or anything like that. I'm not looking at what's your brand name that you're wearing. I'm more looking like, do you look neat? Do you look clean? Is your car clean? And things like that, because that ultimately says a lot about you are as a person. So that's just my opinion on that. And I'm gonna say one more right here because I think it's a short one. So it says, always carry cash prepared for various situations, including emergency, practical, or reflects foresight and responsibility. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's just showing carry some cash as in case an emergency happens. I know me and my brother talked about doing an episode where we talk about like EDC, which is like everyday carry, some of the things we carry, because I believe you should be carrying like a knife on you. In my car, I have gloves. I have a little bag with like little kind of emergency kit. I try to carry a knife. I don't carry it in my pocket so much because it used to always fuck my pants up, but I have a knife that has a window that has a seatbelt cutter that's in my car that I can get access to. That's why I have the gloves, because I have to punch through a window before with my hand. And lucky that I hurt myself too. But I'm just, that's something to be aware of. Have a flashlight. I mean, this was something even when I being in law enforcement on patrol, right? Guys just be like, I don't carry, didn't have flashlights during the day. It's like, well, what if you go into a building and there's no light? Active shooter happens, they cut off the lights. Now you're in a big ass building with no lights on and you have no flashlight because you keep telling yourself that you're on day shift. You know what I mean? When you're looking at people's engine compartments, when you're looking where there's not a lot of area light, carry a flashlight. Same thing in life. What if the power goes out? I have lights, stashed around my house, so lanterns and things like that for that particular reason. And I think it was maybe 2 months ago, the power went out, and yeah, I was able to grab those, give one to my daughter, give one. So there was a situation light, and how that happened was probably a year before that, the power went out again, and I had my work flashlights. I had to go to my car and get it, but I didn't have lanterns or anything like that around the house because I hadn't dealt with it. So then when something does like that, something happens like that, then I make a mental note like, hey, how can I do better the next time? That's just my advice for today. So let me know in the comments, how my audio sounds. I got a new mic off a recommendation from one of my friends who also does podcasts. I'm trying to working on the lighting issue and things like that. I like the music in the background just for myself. I don't know. It kind of keeps, to me, the tone mellow, keeps the vibe mellow, and I like that. I like, I'm trying to keep a mellow vibe, and always appreciate the feedback. And everyone have a good day. Stay positive. Bad times need good leaders. That's my new slogan. Let's go.